Hello, welcome to my station. This is Julia again, and I am here to review a great deck that I picked up called the Tarot of the Moors. And this deck is so cool on so many levels. Basically, I picked it up. Actually, I'm putting stuff back in because I want to show you how it's all put together. I picked it up yesterday when I went to my local Wicca shop to get out of the house. And there's never a lot of people there, and they only allow 8 people, and I was the only one there, and we all had masks because it's a requirement. So it's a pretty low-risk environment, this particular store and time. So this was there, and I'd never heard of it. Like, I've Googled black decks, I've Googled multicultural decks. This deck has never popped up. I never Googled Moorish decks because that never occurred to me. The author is Gina G. Thies, and it's kind of already see this is a great little box if you like to keep boxes. I'm not going to keep it well, I only keep boxes if they have like an original painting on the front, and that's literally one box I have. But it's 2018. It's Schiffer Publishing Limited, an offshoot called Red Feather Mind Body Spirit. So it's not the usual Llewellyn US Games Rockpool or Blue Angel. So it comes in this little box. You open it like this. It's kind of like you're opening a treasure from the Moorish Empire. And you have this nifty little book, and this is Gina G. Thies. So if you're the social climate interested in supporting black artists and black women, this is a good deck. And then the cards are in here like this, which, you know, I don't like these types of boxes. So here's the deck. It's gold-edged, which I don't like gold-edged decks. They're beautiful, but they get chipped on the side, and it pisses me off because I'm a neat freak. However, it is beautiful, and it does kind of go culture-like. And in the Islamic art tradition, they don't traditionally portray people. So they have the beautiful traditional geometric art that was it was spread throughout the Mediterranean, which includes Southern Europe. So when I say Mediterranean, I'm talking about Southern Europe too, and North Africa by the Moors. So you're probably trying to figure out who are the Moors if you don't know. The Moors, where'd it go? She is talking about particularly the North African Moors, the Berbers, the Arabs, that all kind of, they would be considered black today. That's what Europe called them, the Moors. Here is the first paragraph. How does almost 800 years of presence and visibility in Europe's history happen to get swept under a rug? How does a major and comparable contributor to the art and architecture in Europe not have an influence on one of cartomancy's most prominent tools? Italy has been credited as being a significant, if not the key place of the Renaissance era in Europe. Little precedence is given to the Arabic contributions to important philosophical and scientific areas of the European Renaissance, and it is regularly ignored that the well from which the European Renaissance sprang was in Toledo, Spain, while it was under Islamic rule. In a time when Christianity coexisted in the land of Islam, so this is talking about the empire that spanned like Northern Europe, Southern Europe, particularly Spain and Sicily. In a time when Christianity coexisted in the land of Islam, why is it that a system influenced by the great wisdom traditions of both the East and West, it only seems to be the Western traditions that get all the glory? So I am not trying to, and she's not either, trying to glorify empires, because empires by definition are not peaceful. They're empires. All empires are built on conquest. But after this empire was established, Christians, Jews, and Muslims they intermarried, they coexisted together, they exchanged ideas, and the Moors brought to them a lot of ideas that not only did North African Arabic culture create on their own, but they also brought texts that they had translated into Arabic from the Greeks. And then these were translated into Latin by the Europeans and the Christians. So there was all this like flow and contributions of these different cultures. And then the term Moor was associated with Arabs and Muslims in Spain, but it is particular to North African Berbers in Spain. In medieval times, people of color, particularly those of African descent, were called Moors. The Moors were followers of Islam who dwelled in Malta, the Iberian Peninsula, the Maghreb, I said that right, and Sicily. And this is where I think this deck is cool. I'm half Sicilian, which is full-blooded Sicilian. And when growing up, I had even like bigger, like my hair was huge. It was really tightly curled. No one knew what race I was. People were always like, are you white? Are you black? I would tell them I was white because Sicily is considered European, and they get really confused. And I also have, you can't see it here, I have like green hazel eyes. That's the world I grew up. No one bothered to think about your feelings, and they would just ask you what race you were. So I don't think they do that anymore. But I would have to say Sicilian for me to make ethnic sense. East Africans asked if I was East African. People would ask me my ethnic origin. I had someone yell, "Welcome to America." So I always identified strongly as a Mediterranean North African because we've actually done blood tests. One of my cousins found Moroccan blood. Not that many people in my family have done blood tests, but the Moors are a big cultural part of my heritage. So when I saw this, I was excited for that. There's Moorish architecture all over the place in Sicily. I've been to Italy, but not Sicily. But you could just look up pictures, and there's something called Moorish heads. And then, of course, you know, when we're talking about people who resemble me, it's always people from the Southern Mediterranean and North African. And there was always, for me, this cognitive dissonance with saying I was white, even though I am white because I'm of European, Sicily's in Europe. So I'm not trying to claim myself as a woman of color. I'm just explaining why I saw this deck and I got excited. Because besides representing a really important historic contribution to tarot cards, ethnically, this is also a deck that has a people that's not really represented. So that's really cool too. Okay, so I want to start with the cards and just a bit about North Africa. And, you know, the Berbers are nomadic tribesmen, for lack of a better term. A lot of them are Muslim. A lot of them are loosely Muslim, like the Tuareg, the Ashkenazi. I don't know if I said that correctly. And back in the Moorish Empire, you know, it was probably even a different strain because religion has evolved over the centuries. So what we're looking at is a representation of the peoples of southeastern Europe and northern Africa at a certain time in history. And in terms of tarot, and Robert Place talks about this in his book, and this is actually where I first heard this. If you look at playing cards, where tarot came from, a lot of those cards they started with, like the swords were like the sabers that you see. And so a lot of symbology was from the Moorish Empire, and it started with the Moorish military. So females actually weren't representative at all because they weren't in the Moorish military. And she talks about this, and this is a great little booklet. The only thing I would have liked is if she explained which culture was in each card. And I'm not going to show you the whole deck because I feel like I used a lot of time talking about the background of this deck, but it's really rich in history. And I like that she says it's not about one faith, it's about a time in history that there were different renaissances going on. And the Byzantine Empire, she also mentions that, which is a Christian empire, and that's where Eastern Orthodox traditions come from. But let's go into the card before I continue, just to keep talking about history. So this is what I mean when I say this is this is the major arcana, and she changed, like this is the charmer. So she illustrated the deck and wrote the book. I love this, the Sibyl. So that's like a nod to all the, like the Libyan oracles, the Sultana. And I love these cards because I kind of see myself and my family, you know, it's that ethnic ambiguity. And she uses a ton of different skin tones, which I also like because the Mediterranean, North African, it turns into this weird, at least for Americans, because back then I don't think they had yet separated things into white and black. You were Moorish or Spanish or Byzantine. I love that. It's the Lovers, the Chariot, Barbary Lions. Those were a thing. Strength. The Desert Hermit. The Water Wheel. Justice. But again, like, I like that the eyes are like strange off colors like mine. I once had in soccer camp, some girl look at me and go, your eyes are glowing. Why are they glowing? I'm like, what are you talking about? It's because like when the sun hits my eyes, they come across as really green. Alchemy. The Djinn. The Fall of Granada. So that's the tower, guys. The Star. The Moon. The Sun. This is my favorite sun card ever. And I like it because the Moors, you know, and the Arabics, they had a lot of a background in astronomy that they passed on. Judgment. And a lot of this knowledge we use today. Algebra is a Arabic word. So that was the world. See the animals. Sorry, I kind of talked too much at the beginning about why I like it, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of people who will like this kind of ethnic representation and this nod to a certain time in history that's not represented anywhere, but it's really cool that it is. I'm trying to find, I picked some minor arcana cards, kind of to show you. I'm not going to go through them all, but here's an example of more of that architecture. I love this. This is the Three of Swords, the Moorish Islamic architecture. So I'm talking about, if you can see his eyes, the Five of Swords. Oops. The Six of Swords. These are kind of my favorites. And notice the landscape, how Mediterranean / Northern African it looks. This is the Princess of Swords, so there's like Emir, Princess Emir, Malika, and then Malik instead of knight, page, knight, king, queen. And again, you see the, this is one of my favorite, you see the variation of skin tones, which I love. Because North Africa and the Mediterranean were places where a lot of cultures and peoples mixed for thousands of years. Malik of Swords. The Two of Wands. Princess of Wands. This is another one of my favorites, Malika of Wands, so that's the Queen of Wands. The Two of Cups. The Four of Cups. The Five of Cups. The Seven of Cups. I like the little guy's head. She's dreaming about her man. So this is Berber. And there's a lot of interesting history about Berber women and how their high status. And some Berber tribes are matrilineal, including after they converted to Islam. So this whole area is just a fascinating piece of history that Americans don't know a lot about. Eight of Cups. I love the acknowledgement to astronomy. Let's get the time. Nine of Cups. Ten of Cups. Princess of Cups. Emir of Cups. Here you see more of the architecture, the Four of Discs. The Five of Discs. The Six of Discs. Someone just entered the room. The Seven of Discs. And this is obviously a very European individual because the Moors, you know, they were in southern Spain. I can't remember if they were in France, Sicily, but, you know, they would have interacted with Europeans, obviously. And then, let's see. I don't have a lot of time left, but I did want to share one more card. I love this landscape. So this is the Tarot of the Moors, and I think you'll love this deck as much as I do.